a team that I am really, really worried about is the Golden State Warriors.
Yikes.
They have been struggling, George.
Man.
They started out the season 12-3. At one point, they were the number one team in the West after I came out and said I wouldn't be shocked if none of the teams in California made the playoffs. They made me look stupid for a couple of weeks there. And I'm not saying that I'm right because I want to see them do well because I love Steph and I love this team and I love what they could do when they are playing and clicking at the right level. But after their last 10 games, they are now 2-8 in their last 10, and it makes me a little nervous. We will have Dennis Schroder hopefully playing in this game that they have on Thursday. But, George, what's going wrong with the Warriors?
I mean, you look at all their splits over this 10-game stretch. I mean, they have one of the worst defenses in the NBA. Defensive rating as a team is 113. Hield is fine on the perimeter as a defender. Podziemski is okay.
Yeah.
But if those guys are your two best defenders, when you have Draymond Green and Jonathan Kuminga, like that's what the worry is. And then if you go on the other end, the scoring hasn't been fantastic. They're the third worst shooting team in the NBA. They're shooting worse than the Wizards right now. The no-win November Wizards. They're shooting worse than them. But when your leading scorers on the flip are Steph and Draymond, there's trouble. Now, we'll see. You bring up the addition of Dennis Schroder. That's another ball handler, another playmaker, a good shooter because they need more than Hield and Steph from the outside. Mm-hmm. But this is a team where Steve Kerr comes out and goes, you know what? Can't wait to coach 12 deep, man. Can't wait to do it. We're going to be great. We're going to have a 12-man rotation. Of those 12 guys, you don't have dudes. You have Steph, who's still a guy. You have Draymond, who's okay, and you can't deny the IQ. And obviously what he does is more than the numbers.
Yep.
But this team as a whole, they can't get stops, and they're struggling shooting.
Yeah.
And the NBA is a shooter's league, and they can't even hit from 2-point field goal percentage. And in the NBA, what it comes down to late in games, it's not just getting scores and buckets. It's getting stops. It's how many stops do you need to get back into the game and translate to a shot on the other side. It's just this stretch has been nuts. But when you look at it, Podziemski's fine, isn't shooting on the defensive side. Buddy Hield's fine on the defensive side, not fantastic at shooting over the stretch.
Yeah.
It's who are your best defenders, who are your best offensive players, and you can't deny the coaching and all this too. Like Steve Kerr, you boast a 12-man rotation. You have a Jonathan Kuminga, but what are you going to do?
I mean, what is he supposed to do, though? He's starting Lindy Waters. Like, Lindy Waters shouldn't be starting in the NBA game, George. Like, no disrespect to Lindy Waters. He's a good NBA player, but he's a role player who should be coming off the bench.
If you told me that someone your grandpa grew up watching, I remember watching Lindy Waters with the San Diego Clippers. Like, that's what it sounds like. Lindy Waters with the pitch, and Babe Ruth takes him a yard. That guy's playing in the NBA in 2024.
And look, George, I'm not trying to disrespect Lindy Waters. I think he's a good NBA player. I think he's an effective player that can be part of a team that's a contender. Yeah. He just needs to come off the bench. So when he's forced to start a dude like this over periods and periods of time because certain guys haven't stepped up and to his fault, you're right. To his fault. He should have been playing Kuminga earlier on. Yeah. I said that years ago. He should have been playing Moses Moody more minutes early on. Yeah. He waited until Klay sucked. He waited until people got hurt to play these guys. Yeah. And now he's like, okay, you guys need to figure it out. Why aren't you further along? Why aren't you further along, Pods? Why are you taking this slump? Why are you taking this dip? Because these guys haven't been relied on for a long periods of time throughout their NBA career. And now you're expecting them to show up when they haven't been given those opportunities. Klay had to shoot. It was, don't shoot that shot. Klay shooting. Steph is shooting. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. And I told them, and I sat there, and I probably tweeted it a million times saying the Warriors need to give in to the young guys because these old guys aren't going to win it for them anymore. They just waited too long to get there. So I'm with you. It is probably a little bit on Kerr, but you really can't blame him because this team is really kind of inept in a lot of different spaces. Yeah. They won early because it was early. They had some continuity, guys who have been on this team before. Yeah. A lot of other NBA teams haven't. And so they went out there and they played the Warriors way, and it worked. But the true shooting numbers have always been there, and it's finally catching up with them, which is why I think Dennis Schroder is going to help out. George, do you think that was a good get by them?
I do. You need another ball handler. You need a playmaker. You need a guy that's shooting 37% from the outside. Like, you need another shooter. Yeah. Even to your point of, like, the Podziemskis and the Kumingas and however, like, Moses Moody, this is year 4 of him being in the NBA, and he's not playing more than 20 minutes a night. Yep. Boast about your depth, and you're playing all these guys. You're playing all these guys because none of these guys are guys. Like
none of them are guys.
We knew what he was in college. Moses Moody was a good piece.
Yeah.
He fit in with this core here in the Warriors. It made sense in the system. But to your point, Ountae, nail on the head, dude.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr didn't let him come along when he should have.
Yeah.
There is coaching for the now, and there's coaching for the future. A Trace Jackson Davis, who could pair up really good with the Dennis Schroder because of Schroder in the pick and roll and how TJD gets downhill and is great at rim running and getting to the spot and is just a good athletic body. Like, they could pair up well together, but can they? Because is TJD stunted at this point?
Yeah.
They have these guys. Lindy Waters couldn't find the floor on the Thunder, and the Thunder are one of the deepest, best teams in the NBA. Nothing against him, but that shouldn't be your starter. No, I'm propping up Lindy Waters now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm not going down on the guy anymore.
Right. Come on. But look, I'm with you. I think this was a great get by them, honestly. And I think people are, a little down on them. He hadn't played in that game on Sunday against the Mavericks, and I think he's going to play once again on Thursday when they play that game against the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're adding a veteran. This is This has got to be his 10th, 12th year in the league at this point. He's played 11 years in the league. He's played for a myriad of teams. I mean, there's all these memes on the internet about him being a rainbow guy like Shaq, playing for every different jersey combination that's ever available.
Everyone he could find.
Right. Everyone's gotten a piece of Dennis Schroder at this point. But he's played with the Nets, and I know a lot of people aren't sitting here watching the Nets, so I need to tell you his numbers. 18 points a game. He's shooting 50% from 2, 38% from 3.
Not terrible.
And 88% from the line. If you want to get your true shooting numbers up,
that's what you get.
A 50, 40, 90 guy like that who's flirting with it is a perfect guy to get, who's averaging 18 a game.
Yeah.
This team needed somebody who was going to come off the bench and score buckets. Potts has not been that guy.
Yep.
Warriors Nation is almost over Potts. He's about to get traded for one of these guys that I'm going to name in a second, probably. But I don't think it's time to give up on Potts. But if you are giving up on Potts, having a point guard, a veteran who can score it and fill it up in every single place that he's been to along his NBA career is a good guy to get. I think that they should target B.I. And I'm going to ask you who you think they should target, but I think Brandon Ingram is a guy that the Warriors should try to go out and get.
Yeah.
I think that they do need more guys who can go get a bucket on their own. Mm-hmm. They don't have that guy anymore. When they were at their best, and I understand that it's Kevin Durant, and B.I. is not Kevin Durant, but the Warriors were really, really, really unstoppable when they had another guy who could just say, hey, you go get a bucket.
Yeah.
Steph was that guy at some point for them, too, where it was like, hey, I put the ball in your hands and you go get a bucket. If you watch a Warriors game, Steph is not trying to be that guy right now anymore. He's trying to run off screens. He does do it. He will take dudes off the dribble. But afterwards, he's looking to facilitate. He's not looking to put up 50 a night. That's not who Steph is anymore. You need B.I. And I understand the injury history. And I understand New Orleans Pelicans weren't winning games. But that's not to this guy's fault. He's a 22-point per game guy. He's also shooting 51% from 2 range. Yeah. He's shooting 37% from the 3, and he's shooting 85% from the free throw line. What more can you ask for? This guy's going to come in and have a little bit of a reduced role, but if you have him, you have Steph, you have a way to keep Draymond, you have a way to keep Kuminga somehow in this, and you have a way to keep Andrew Wiggins, man, that 5 right there could be very, very deadly as far as length, as far as defensive prowess, as far as having every option to score. This is a small ball unit that they're basically going to have to lean into because they've not given up. They've gone away from Kevon Looney a little bit in recent years, and TJD is also a small ball kind of 5-man as well.
Yeah.
So with this lineup, they would be perfect.
Yeah, I like that fit a lot. And it's just someone, like, you got to get a guy that you put the ball in his hands, he's going to go get a bucket.
Yes.
This would be a bigger package you'd have to ship off. But to your point of the Podzminskis and the Moses Moody's, who you're not using, and even the Jonathan Kumingas, who Steve Kerr never seemed to like during his time in Golden State, if you could trade young pieces like that and maybe you throw in a veteran and you look at Miami, and it's not just Jimmy Butler, but you get a Tyler Hero in a package in return too, where you get a guy, you're talking about true shooting numbers. I mean, Jimmy's 55% from the floor, 35% from 3, and he's not a three-point shooter, but he will put up 15 shots a night for you. Yeah. And you put the ball in his hands, he will get to the cup. The spacing won't be there, but then you get a Tyler Hero to add to that. That's where you're improving on the offensive side. And that's a guy late in the game. Now, he's a lot older.
Yes.
It's a lot of age.
Yes.
So if you want to if you want to GM for the now, like Dunleavy's trying to do, and he's the window that Steph and Draymond still have, the championship window, that's how you go with this championship window. Because what you have for the future is not the pieces for the future.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I can't do the Jimmy Butler stuff, dog. Like, I just can't. He's past his prime. I love Jimmy. He had a great game. His last game that he played, triple-double.
He's playing basketball.
They lost to the Pistons. He had a great game. But I can't sit here and look at B.I., a 27-year-old.
No, I get that.
And say, I'd rather have Jimmy Butler. I understand that B.I. doesn't have the winningness that Jimmy Butler has. He hasn't won at that level. Not to say that Jimmy Butler's won an NBA championship or anything of that note, but he's at least been to the finals.
Yeah.
B.I. has never been there. So I understand that a guy who's further along in his development. But I think that the Warriors have to kind of protect themselves for now and the future. Maybe their championship window is close. I already said that it did a couple of years back. I was already on that train that when they won that championship against the Celtics, that year, going into that year, I said the Warriors are winning the championship, and then after that, that's it. And so I think their championship window is close. If you get a guy like B.I., though, that can help extend it a little bit longer, because we know Steph is probably going to play until he's 42 just because he doesn't need to use his athleticism as much as other guys do. So I would like to see B.I. a little bit more, but I kind of respect your JB decision, but I'm not really rocking with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where B.I.'s got to be the priority one, like a young scorer like that.
Yes.
To be fair, you said, who do they get? I don't want to have an echo in this podcast. So.
That's fair. That's fair.